Hello, I'm just the Canadian Tuxedo. Welcome to the channel. Today we're going to go back in time and look at the 1978 classic by Bruce Springsteen entitled Darkness on the Edge of Town. When you think of Bruce Springsteen, you probably think of Born in the USA or maybe Born to Run, this image of the all-American good guy in blue jeans in front of an American flag. Well, that is Bruce Springsteen. It's really only a piece of a much more complex and dynamic artist. I think what doesn't get talked about enough, though, is how prolific and disciplined and compelling of an artist and storyteller Bruce Springsteen is. When most artists put together a record, they write a bunch of songs, and then they pick the best ones. And that's the record they make. And there's nothing wrong with that. That makes sense. You want your best songs on there. But when Bruce Springsteen set out to make Darkness on the Edge of Town, he wrote and recorded dozens of songs, and only 10 of which ended up on the record. Some songs he gave to other artists, which some became hits. Some would end up on the follow-up, The River, and others stayed hidden away and ended up on bootlegs or coming out a few years ago. The insane part is how many of these songs could have been hits. So why would any artist actually do this? Well, this is where the discipline comes in. Bruce Springsteen's best work would be meticulously paced and structured in a way that would have an arc, a narrative, or a particular message and energy that he wanted to convey. In 1975, Bruce Springsteen's third record, Born to Run, needed to be a hit. His career depended on it, and he got it. He made it. This was his big break. So how do you follow that? While Born to Run was an explosive album about escaping the trappings of small town life, an album of bright and hopeful ambition, what followed was a time when Bruce was fighting to get out of a bad management deal and would be locked out of the studio. And what followed was a year of struggle, doubt, and anger. When he was finally able to be free and able to work, he did so feverishly. The result was a stark departure from his previous work, where once there was a hope and a light in escapism, would now be replaced with the desperate hunger and inner conflict to wrestle with the world that left him at his wit's end. Darkness on the Edge of Town is filled with characters trying to break the chains that bind them and search for something bigger and better than the hand that they were dealt. It stands as one of his most powerful and focused records of his entire career. So, let's dive into it, shall we? The album opens with Badlands, which sounds like the beginning of a film with its big piano and guitar hooks. This song deals with the internal struggle of wanting to take control of your life. The odds stacked against you, and yet you have to fight to be who you want to be and get what you want. Bruce's vocals have a different tinge to them on this album. While the song sounds very triumphant, there's a hint of sadness and anger that is sewn into his vocal delivery. There's a searing solo from Bruce that leads into a ripping solo from big man Clarence Clemons. This is a great way to open the record, and it feels like you're picking up where Born to Run left off, but there's a different emotion hiding underneath the surface. This is a classic Springsteen track and is one hell of an opening cut. Next we get Adam Raised a Cain, which opens with a relentless screaming guitar solo from Bruce over this hard rock and blues groove by the E Street Band. This song features one of the most aggressive vocal performances in all of Bruce's career. Taking cues from the Bible, Bruce Springsteen sings about how he feels like Adam's son Cain. He is the black sheep of the family, seen as a failure to his father, the resentment Bruce felt, and the fear of becoming just like his dad. The entire song is tense and brimming with conviction. The band leans hard into the groove, and then there's this wicked solo in the middle of the track that just
melts your face.
It's one of my favorite tracks on this album and really shows a different side of Bruce Springsteen that hadn't really come to light before. On the next cut, Something in the Night, we get a familiar piano and glockenspiel that are staples of the E Street Band sound. However, Springsteen howls over top of as Max Weinberg builds and builds the drum up before the whole song just explodes. There's an empty feeling to this track. The song is about driving alone through the night with the radio blasting and trying to drown out the pain and chase away your demons down the blacktop. It's not an exhilarating kind of feeling, but more of an act of desperation. Bruce's vocal is filled with pain and regret, and it's incredibly compelling. The band build up and explode before leaving just a solemn vocal and echoing drums. This song ends much in the way it starts, with Bruce's painful howling vocal and the band digging deep into the groove of the song. Next we have Candy's Room. This song has a racing gallop that runs throughout the entire song and builds in tension and dynamics. There's an infectious piano hook that is interwoven into the song, and Bruce fawns over a girl whom he desires, but he realizes that she will never be only with him. It's a song about unrequited love and obsession. The combination of the groove and Bruce's passionate vocal go so well, provoking the sentiments of the song. There's a screaming guitar solo that sounds like it's crying and wailing. There's no resolution, only acceptance in the end, and as the piano hook plays us out into darkness. The first half of this album ends with Racing in the Streets. This is one of Springsteen's best ballads. We open with a beautiful yet mournful piano. Bruce sings about racing for money with his friend. It's about escaping the trappings of everyday life for a little while. Then he juxtaposes words that seem like it's an old car song, but placing it over a sad ballad. It gives the whole song a different meaning. It's as if Bruce has taken away the romanticism out of the car song and made it real with real life implications. Women are won and lost and seen as objects, and Bruce gives her dimension and shows her pain, and the band does an excellent job of highlighting the emotional weight of the words. There's an organ in this track that is especially haunting, and the song always manages to give me chills every single time I hear it. It's just so haunting and lonesome sounding, and it takes cues from the song Dancing in the Street and then just kind of flips the idea onto its head. It's really creative and really powerful, and it's a great way to close out the first half of the record. The second side of this album opens with The Promised Land. This song opens up with a wailing harmonica. The song is all about the struggle of working hard and the faith that good things will come to those who wait and earn it. But there's an inner struggle to take charge and go out and take what you want. The feeling like you're tired of the struggle, and so you take life into your own hands. It's the shift from adolescence to adulthood. There's a really great solo that's traded off between Bruce and Clarence Clemens. These solos are very simple, but they work so perfectly together to make a compelling climax to this song. This is another classic Springsteen track and does an excellent job of opening the back half of this album. Factory functions in a similar way as Adam Raised a Cain does, with Bruce Springsteen writing about his father. In this song, he talks about the role the job plays in a person's life. It's ritualistic, it gives you purpose, while slowly it takes your life away. It's a meditation that plays into the theme of wanting more than what life gives you. The band works together to create a solid foundation that moves you throughout the narrative of the song without distracting you from the weight of the words. It's a haunting lament to the blue-collar worker. Streets of Fire opens with a haunting combination of light guitar, B3 organ, and Bruce's howling vocal. When the drums kick in, the song just explodes. This song slowly plods along like it's carrying the weight of the world. It features one of the most emotive vocals that Bruce has ever laid down to tape. The song is about the anger that comes from feeling trapped and manipulated by those who you trust. There's no certainty in the darkness down the road, but all you have is the road ahead, so you trudge along, and Bruce's guitar cries and makes you wince from its pain and power. It's heavy, compelling stuff. One of the highlights on this album for sure, and damn does it rock. Prove It All Night comes in with its classic Springsteen piano and glockenspiel hook. The band are in tight form, while Springsteen talks about the cost of getting what you want, in love, in life, and everything has a price. This is pure anthemic Springsteen in full power. This song has such a memorable chorus that hooks you right away. There's an incredible traded solo from Clarence and Bruce that culminates in Bruce's squealing distorted guitar howling into the night. There's a nice dynamic break towards the end, and it builds and explodes again. And in the end, we have a fade out that leaves everything unresolved. Very well played. The album closes with the title track that seems to tie the themes of desperation and having your back up against the wall, and blows them wide open. When you're backed into a corner, you have to fight your way out any way that you can, so you go out swinging. Bruce is in a dark place, and he wants to find himself and his purpose. Something about this track seems so fitting to end the album. It's making a statement of purpose. The future may look bleak, but it's gotta be better than where you are now. Roy Bittan's piano is at the center of this track, and it's holding down the groove with Max Weinberg. Bruce pulls out a twangy surf guitar solo in the middle of the song that makes the song feel like an instant classic and is compelling, and is such a great way to end this record. This song fades out, making you feel like you're moving forward, but the struggle isn't really over yet. This was a bold album for Springsteen to make at the time, and Bruce has never sounded so angry and restless. There's a hunger and desperation that brews beneath the surface of the whole album. I also feel like it's a strong showcase of the strength and power of the E Street Band. I think it's also worth noting that I don't think Bruce gets enough credit for being such a great guitar player. All the solos on this record are impactful and deliberate and serve the song so well. And I think this might be my favorite Bruce Springsteen record. It's kind of hard to say. I feel like there's a lot of really good ones, but I don't think this album gets talked about enough. And I may be biased, but I can't help it. So I'm going to have to rate this album 5 distressed denim jackets out of 5. It's solid top to bottom, and it holds many of the Boss's best songs he's ever written. And if you haven't heard the outtakes, you really got to do that. There's some really amazing tracks in there. It's almost insane how many great songs he had in his back pocket the entire time. Thanks for watching. If you like what you see, like and subscribe, and tell me in the comments what your favorite Bruce Springsteen album is, or what your favorite Springsteen track is. Stay weird, my friends, and I'll catch you on the B-side.